defense wins championships. That has been the mantra in football for as long as I've been alive, and it is no different this year in college football 26. To be successful on the defensive side of the ball, you must master the mental facet of defense and then be able to bring it to life on the sticks in game. There are a lot of people that are desperately looking for defense right now, so whether you are starting from scratch and you just got the game, or maybe you do have some experience, either way, this video is for you, and I guarantee you will hear something that you didn't know before. So today, we are going to be going over the 10 easy tips to get more stops in college football 26. So starting off really basic, tip number 1 is you need to learn how to stop the run. Most players in college football love to run the rock, or at least they want to have a balanced offense. So stopping the run on early downs and forcing them into difficult passing situations is absolutely the best way to get stops. There are multiple different ways to stop the run, but I'm going to show you what I have had the most success with in college football 26. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is actually click into coaching adjustments, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And for safety depth, I'm going to go to close, and for safety width, I'm going to go to pinch. This is going to allow our safeties to be closer to the line of scrimmage and to the middle of the field. They're going to give us way better safety help in the event of a run. Now, the defensive formation you pick is very, very important. I prefer something with 3 linebackers this year, so I like something like 3-3 stack. Now, the play call specifically that you would go with might come down to preference or defensive philosophy. I personally like the cover 4 drop because I really love the way the run support from the safeties come from those middle 2 quarters. So I chose to use North Carolina on defense for this example, and I chose Texas A&M to play offense for these running plays because the offensive line and running back, that whole position group, both of those for Texas A&M, I used them in a dynasty, and it is absolutely elite. I think they might be the best offensive line running back duo in the game, so this should be a really good test to see if this run defense works. The first thing I like to do is pinch my defensive line. That's really going to help for interior runs, and I like to spread my linebackers as that will give them better outside angles to help on outside runs. Sometimes I'll even throw them in a hard flat, but that doesn't really matter unless they pass. And I also like to back up my user a little bit to give myself better angles to read the coverage and more time to run downhill to make a tackle. And as you can see right there, we stopped the run for no gain. So I am just going to let this run through a few times to show you, but this is just a really good way to have players nearly everywhere that a run could possibly be ran. The pinched line makes the interior runs difficult, and the spread linebackers along with the safety depth makes the angles getting to the outside run really, really effective. Of course, this might not be the answer to stop every single run in the game for 0 yards, but it certainly does a good job versus most runs in the game. Tip number 2 actually comes before you even load into a game, and that is understanding your roster. Whether you are in Dynasty or you're just playing head-to-head, understanding your roster strengths and weaknesses is crucial to formulating a defensive game plan that works. So just for example, let's take a look at a team like San Diego State. They have one of the very best pass rushers in the game in Trey White. 91 overall with platinum quick jump, pocket disruptor, and duress. This guy is clearly a problem for the offense to deal with on every single down. But we have to realize that where we have our strength in the pass rush, the secondary leaves a lot to be desired. Low overalls and speeds all across the board here. The DBs are clearly the defensive weakness. Since we understand that about this roster, now we can accurately choose plays to fit the team best. This squad would work better under a zone-heavy scheme. That way we are not relying on our DBs to stick with talented wide receivers in man coverage. And to top it off, we do have the pass rusher to get pressure even in a standard cover 3 or cover 4 protected shell. Now Notre Dame actually has the opposite problem. They are completely loaded in the secondary with one of the best corners in the game, Leonard Moore. 93 overall, 92 speed, and multiple plat abilities. The cornerback room looks great, and they have some really solid safeties to back them up. Now, looking at the defensive line, they're certainly not terrible, but they are certainly the weakness of the defense comparative to the secondary. So, with the strength in the secondary and the weakness on the D-line, a heavy man coverage or man blitz scheme would do very well, sending high pressure at the opponent because we know our DBs can cover us on the back end. Tip number 3 is knowing how to contain the quarterback. There are so many dynamic dual threat quarterbacks in college football 26, and you really need to know how to keep them from scrambling for yards or just getting out of the pocket to create broken plays. There are 3 main ways to contain the quarterback in this game. The first way is to just select a play with a QB spy on it. If we look at the top right and see nickel 3-3 stat, cover 4 quarters, that little tiny orange circle indicates that that player is in a QB spy. Now, essentially what that means is that this player right here in the QB spy will mirror the quarterback's movements left and right wherever the quarterback goes and essentially just meet him at the line of scrimmage, avoiding him from getting any yards. I'm going to put my defensive line in hook curls just so you can see this in action. And watch as we snap the ball. Number 7 is going to mirror the movements of the quarterback. Notice how he goes right and he goes left. Now, another cool aspect of this is, again, you see him mirroring again. If you ever want to send the QB spy toward the quarterback, all you have to do is click on the right stick in and he will start running at the quarterback. The second way to contain the quarterback is to manually put somebody into a QB spy. You do that by going over with your user, clicking A, and then clicking left on the right stick to put him into a QB spy. And just like that, this player also will mirror the quarterback and run to him if you click the right stick in. It is very hard for quarterbacks to actually work their way around a QB spy. The third way to contain the QB might be the easiest, and it also might be the best because you don't necessarily have to take somebody out of coverage like putting them into a spy. So the third way you can contain the quarterback is putting your defensive line into a QB contain route. And that is done by pressing RB on the controller, and then in the bottom left you can see LB to QB contain. And that will change the red marks to your outside defensive ends to look like this. Now when we snap the ball, this defensive end will shed, keeping him inside the pocket or sacking him if he tries to continue to run outside. On defense, your most powerful piece on the chessboard is actually your own user. So tip number 4 is learning how to improve your own user skills. Give me that. Come on, man. Scooby Williams. Pick 6 before half. Let's go, baby. Woo! First things first, if you are using a defensive line, please do yourself a favor and get off and get to one of the linebackers in the middle of the field. It can definitely be fun to use your defensive line, but it's definitely not optimal if you're trying to win and get more stops. So using one of these linebackers in the middle of the field is the absolute best because it gives you the most support in the run and the pass game. You're in the middle of the field, you're back away from the offensive line, you're going to be able to come downhill at run plays, go to the sideline toward run plays, and most of all, you're going to be able to get to much of the field from this middle linebacker spot to help during pass plays. Now that we are using the correct guy, now it's important to know what we are responsible for. And some of you might have noticed something different on my screen that you may not see on yours or other people's screens, and that is that it shows the zone that my user is in and its potential run fit. This is a setting that you have to turn on in your own settings called user controlled play art. So I'm going to go ahead and back out. I'm going to show you that and a couple other settings that you need to turn on to be elite on defense. This specific setting can only be turned on from the main menu, so you will have to come back to the main menu, scroll all the way over to settings, go to game settings, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom. And you will see controlled player art. This is going to show the person you are controlling what play art he is, like what zone he's in, what the run fit, exactly what you saw on my screen. Turn that from off to on. And 3 other settings I want to show you just to double check. I think these start on, but just make sure so that way you're not missing out on key interception points while you're using defensive ball hawk on, defensive heat seeker assist on, and defensive heat seeker window size 100%. This is going to help you tremendously when it comes to using routes coming in and out of the middle of the field. Tip number 5 is to select plays with down and distance in mind. Really, the goal of every defense is to either create turnovers or to continuously put the offense in difficult 3rd and 4th down situations. So selecting plays that lead to those results will help you in the long run a lot more than just calling the same play over and over or trying to spam the same blitz over and over. Strategically picking plays for the situation that's in front of you with the down and distance is going to more often put the offense in more uncomfortable 3rd and 4th down situations. So it's important to understand that the defensive situation is not the same between something like 1st and 10 versus 3rd and 2, or even like 2nd and 12 versus 2nd and 1. So let's run through a scenario here. I really want to force the offense into a tough 3rd down situation, but it's 1st and 10 right now. So what I want to do early is deny the run early, so that way they're not getting 2nd and short, 3rd and short. I want to make sure they have a 2nd and long because that's the first step to getting them to that difficult 3rd and 4th down situation. So I am actually going to go to a similar run defense that we talked about earlier. I'm going to go to nickel, something like nickel load, and I'm going to come out and cover 4 quarters. So they're going to snap, they're going to run the ball, and essentially get almost no gain. Now we are set up. We are on track on defense. It is 2nd and 10 after that play. So now let's look at a second example. Let's say the situation is now 3rd and 12. We were successful in our defensive game plan. We were able to take away the easy stuff on early downs, and now we actually have the offense in that difficult 3rd down situation. So now we are going to kind of combine 2 of the tips we've talked about in this video so far into one. Understanding down and distance, it is 3rd and 12. It is a passing down for sure. And even if they run, the likelihood that we can rally to a run before he gets 13 yards is highly likely. So we're going to come out in a pass defense. But what kind of pass defense? Now this goes back to our understanding of our roster. We are Notre Dame, and I'll show this one more time. Our strength is heavily in the secondary. We have great corners, great safeties to back them up, and the defensive line, by contrast, is not nearly as dominant as maybe our secondary is. So for Notre Dame's situation, I would call something heavy blitz related and probably in man coverage because I trust them to hold up in man. So I'm actually going to call nickel wide over Storm Braves. So that way we are bringing the pressure. We're bringing extra pressure to support our pass rushers because we know our elite DBs can save us on the back end. Snap putt hut, and there is absolutely nowhere to go with the ball right here. He falls underneath the pressure, and if we really look at the replay, no one was open on the play anyhow. So that's a great example of how you can tactically select your defensive play in order to get a specific result, and it correlates well with your team. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video. If you enjoyed the content so far, please consider liking the video as we are locked in this year in college football 26. We are hitting tips and tricks, offensive and defensive schemes, online dynasties, and rebuilds. We're doing it all. So please consider subscribing and turning the noties on for your one-stop shop, all things college football 26. Any support helps as we kick off this new year, and I appreciate it. Now back to the video. Tip number 6 might be the most important one on this list, and that is adapting to your opponent. Now, this is a mistake that everyone can make sometimes, and I am no exception. Just being too focused on what you're doing on the defensive end, just caught up in your own scheme, but then you're completely oblivious to what your opponent is doing. The first thing you should be paying attention to is the formation that your opponent is coming out in. Just with that information alone, you can tell if they are coming out in a run tendency formation or a pass tendency formation. The second thing you should be doing with that information is remembering what formation your opponent goes to in certain situations and what plays they like. Now, obviously, I'm not saying to memorize every play they call in real time, but you should be taking note of the formation and what play they did in a critical 3rd down spot, let's say in the first half. Store that information away from later because most people repeat their favorite plays, especially in tough spots or when they get uncomfortable or when they've seen it work before. This should become very standard practice for you on the defensive end, where you see the formation they're coming out in, understand that they've ran a specific play like that earlier in the game, and then choose a play or make adjustments to negate that play and take it away from them. Just doing that alone will help you secure more stops, especially given the fact that you've been given that information earlier in the game. And to some, that might sound kind of overwhelming right now, but I promise the more you pay attention to it and give it more practice, it's actually not that complicated at all, and it will come more naturally with reps. So now let's look at this in practice mode with a more specific example. Let's say that at some point in the first half, you got your opponent to a difficult 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, and then they ended up getting the first down by calling verticals out of this trips formation. Now, fast forward to now, imagine it is the 3rd quarter and you've got them in a similar situation again. All of a sudden, you see that trips formation pop up in that formation bucket that it tells you before you even pick your play on defense. So what I would call versus a vertical trips threat like this, I expect verts coming because we've seen them run it in the game in kind of a very similar spot. And like we mentioned before, a lot of players repeat the plays that have worked before or that they're comfortable with in uncomfortable situations. So I'm really expecting verts here. Now, cover 2 man does really, really well versus verts because there's not really a whole lot of man-beating route potential on this play. So I would call something like cover 2 man and just let it ride. Now, as you can see, everything is bagged. We used former knowledge from what we learned earlier in the game to pick a calculated play to counter our opponent and to secure a stop in this situation. Now, tip number 7 is to set your coaching adjustments. Sometimes setting up your coaching adjustments on defense is similar to setting your blocking protection on offense. It's easy to just be lazy and not do it, quite frankly. But I promise, if you get comfortable doing this and get in the routine of setting these every single game, you will save yourself a giant headache from giving up the same big plays just due to laziness. So let's just scroll down this list of coaching adjustments and I will let you know what my approach is. First of all, the way you get to your coaching adjustments is by pressing the right stick in. It'll bring up this little menu with all sorts of little coaching adjustments. Now, I really leave these first three alone. I don't do anything special here. Cornerback matchups balanced. I found that if you do any of these by depth or by speed or overall, if the offense hurries up, it's going to mess up your defense. That's been my experience. They may fix that at some point in time, and it may not always mess it up, but that's been my experience. So I try to leave this on balanced as best I can. And defensive motion response, it seems like you're going to need to leave this on default because in the worst situations, you might be running like a man defense. And if you have this on disabled, all of a sudden, you're going to have guys motioning out to the outside and nobody following them to covering them. All of a sudden, you have a cornerback that's like 20 yards away from where the receiver's starting, and it's going to be a wide open touchdown, and that's going to be awful. But the ones I really want to dial in on here are these four right here. These are absolute game changers, and they actually work this year in college football 26, and they work very, very well. And that's going to be option read key, option pitch key, RPO read key, and RPO pass key. Now, we're going to walk through all these, and I'm going to tell you which ones I prefer, but let's talk about philosophy first. Obviously, if your opponent is doing something that is hurting you the most, for example, they're keeping it with their quarterback constantly and you're giving up a lot of yards, you might want to do something different. But what I want to do from a philosophy standpoint is specifically on the read option. An example of a read option is what you see in the top middle. That is a read option where the quarterback is making a decision either to hand off the ball or to keep it and go around the outside, and they're reading the outside defensive end. So that's what this specific setting is affecting. Now, aggressive will have them focus on the dive, and the quarterback is left open to run around the edge, or conservative, where they focus on the quarterback and the dive is left open. And what I mean by the dive is left open is that the defensive end or the read man is not going to go after the run play, right? So in this specific situation, my philosophy with all these is two things. One, I want to avoid the thing that gives up the big play. Now, for option reads, a lot of the time that is the quarterback running around the outside uncontested. For pitches, that's actually them executing the pitch. And for RPO read keys, that ends up being giving up the pass for easy yards on like bubble routes and things of that nature off their RPOs. So back up to the top, option read key. What I would like to do on this is go conservative. I want them to focus on the quarterback because we can handle things like inside zones. We can handle in that top middle play, looking at it, that in standard inside zone, if we force the quarterback to give it up, we can handle that. What we can't handle is putting this on aggressive, having the whole defense focus on the dive and then the quarterback going uncontested around the edge, and then they're getting the easiest 8 to 20 yards of your life. So I like to put this on conservative right off the bat. Secondly is the option pitch key. And an example of a play like this is the top left. It's a zone option. So any of your speed options like the gun wing to the right to top right, that's a speed option. And there's two settings for this. You can play it on aggressive where they focus on the pitch on the option and they leave the quarterback open, or they focus on the conservative option where they focus on the quarterback and they leave the pitch wide open. So there's two reasons why I would want to go aggressive here. One is the fact that the pitch is definitely going to get more yards on something like a speed option than the quarterback keeping it, because the quarterback is going to be close to the middle of the field, right? Just looking at these top left plays, the quarterback is the inside guy, then they read the player, the pitch man, and then they pitch it to their halfback, and then they get around to the outside. A pitch to the outside would hurt us a whole lot more than a quarterback just running closer to the middle of the field where the rest of our team can rally toward it. So I would rather take that pitch away and let the quarterback running. There's an added benefit to this also, where we want their quarterback to take as many hits as possible. We definitely want their quarterback to take as many hits as possible. The wear and tear system does work, and it works aggressively this year. So anytime we can get bodies on top of the quarterback, that is a good thing in the long run. Now we get to our RPO keys and the coaching adjustments. With the RPO read key, they're reading the handoff. It's the handoff read option between the quarterback and the running back. Again, this is the same logic as the option, the read option, in the sense that we can handle an inside zone or just a run up the middle. But what we can't handle is the quarterback scampering out to the outside when everyone's dove in on the run. So I like to put this on conservative. Now, again, I would just remind you that If something is hurting you a lot, switch it around. If he's not really keeping it with his quarterback at all, maybe turn it on aggressive so you can focus on the dive and not give up the easy yards. It just depends on your opponent, but this is what I would advise to start out with. Now for the RPO pass key, let's take a look at that offensive plays at the top row, top middle, RPO zone alert bubble. Everybody who's played any amount of video game football has seen a play like this over the last couple years. It's like a trips formation, they have a handoff, and they have a bubble route with two blockers going out there. It's an absolute pain to deal with. Not anymore. Now we have a setting that will allow that whatever cornerback or whatever player is over there to make sure they are playing the pass and not just dummying out and watching the run. You no longer have to man up those guys because you have this coaching adjustment. So you can put it on aggressive where it's focused on stopping the run, but it leaves the pass coverage wide open, or you can put it on conservative, focus on the pass coverage, and the run gap is left open. I would say this is very clearly obvious. The pass is going to hurt us more than the run out of a play like this, so I would choose conservative. Focus on pass coverage, so that way that player is out there with the bubble route and they just can't just throw it for free. And I'm going to show examples of all 4 of these right after we get through running through the rest of these coaching adjustments, but I'm going to prove to you that these work. For strip ball and tackling, I don't see a lot of benefit in turning these on aggressive. We don't want any more broken tackle, so I just like to leave them on balanced. For your zone drops, I would advise not messing with these unless you see a specific need. Leave them on default because you can kind of put people where you want regardless, whether it be through zone stimming or hot adjusting them to a specific spot, or even switch sticking to cover up certain parts of your coverage. We'll get to that actually in a few minutes. But at least on standard, I don't mess with these. I just let these ride. Now for safety depth, this goes back to stopping the run earlier. On rundowns, I really like to have them on close and pinch. But then outside of that, I like them on default. I think that they're in a good spot where they are, and I think aligning them any other way, specifically versus passing formation, is kind of setting yourself up to have a big play thrown on you. They'll be misaligned. They may not be deep enough. Someone might just get over the top when they're not supposed to. That type of thing. So in passing downs, I like these on default. In rundowns, I like these on close and pinch. But let's go ahead and go up here and let's have some examples because I want to show how well these work in practice. So let's just look at our option keys again because we're going to run these back to back. For the option read key, we have it on conservative. They should be focusing on the quarterback and the read option. And for the option pitch key, we are on aggressive. So they should be focusing on the pitch on things like the speed option. So we are just in a very normal standard defense with Clemson. And we're just running a normal read option with LSU. The R above that right side guy indicates that he is the read man. So this guy should target the quarterback in this situation, according to our coaching adjustments. We're going to keep it here, and we're instantly tackled. He did a great job, instantly went for the quarterback. That's exactly what the coaching adjustments are meant to do. Now let's look at a speed option. Now again, according to our coaching adjustments, we have them on aggressive, so he should be targeting the pitch man. The guy with the P above his name is going to play the pitch really, really well. Let's snap it. Hut. And look, he's sticking right with them. Pitch it. He even picks it off. I know that was a late pitch, but you see him right there. He's sticking right with him. He's doing a great job of staying with him and forcing the quarterback to take it himself or put the pitch in jeopardy like he just did. Now we're going to run the standard RPO, which honestly, almost everybody on this game has probably seen 100 times at this point, but it's just the inside zone with the bubble route going to the right on a trips set just like this. Everyone's seen this play, I think, 100 times now. But now with the new coaching adjustments, we can depend on our defensive backs actually playing this pass. So let's see how they do. Really done really well. They're clearly playing the pass. And I think, honestly, even setting the coaching adjustments to play the pass probably helps with even block sheds on the outside to really get to those passing downs because our coaching adjustments are set. We've coached our guys up to, hey, focus on the pass. So stuff like that, little things like that is going to stop you from giving up easy gains by just setting a simple coaching adjustment. Now let's talk about Switch Stick. Switch Stick is without a doubt the most dynamic feature EA has ever added to defense. It has the ability to cover up the weaknesses in your coverage shells or just simply outsmart your opponents by switch sticking to a certain part of the field because you already know what is coming. If you are not utilizing Switch Stick yet, please start now. Even after a year of it being in the game, everyone still struggles to pass versus effective Switch Stick players. Knowing where to switch stick and when to switch stick can be a little more complicated. It'll vary depending on the situation, and it's going to take reps to get used to. But just knowing how to switch stick is not complicated at all. All you have to do is make sure that your user is not on a blitz. He is actually in coverage in some way, shape, or form. And all you have to do is click the right stick in the direction that you want to switch stick. So if we snap the ball, we can switch stick to the right linebacker, to the deep safety, down to the flat, even down low, back up to the linebacker. I mean, you can do this as many times as needed. And as you can see, we're just running around covering up everything on the field. So now let's put this into practice and show some examples of effective switch stick. So let's imagine we're in a cover 3 like we are with hard flats on the field. So the corners are going to be playing super low toward the line of scrimmage, taking away anything in the flat. But we do have a weakness, and it's going to be the medium part of the field. That go route is going to push our right third as far back as possible. And we do have a flat route, table route from the running back going out to the flat, and that's our hard flat's going to cover that. But we do have this A route. We do have this tight end that's going on a deep out route. Now, that's a weakness because it will be open if we don't do anything about it. So a great way to switch stick this would be to, if we're going to start on this left user, it might be to switch stick to this right backer after the play starts and run after that route. Snap the ball, switch it to the right backer, and we're all over it. Now everything is bagged. Now that's the beauty of switch stick, because if I had not done anything, that route would have been wide open. But because we switch stick to it, it will be covered up. Now, of course, I know this play before it's even snapped, right? Because I'm in practice mode and I'm trying to give an example. But you're going to be able to utilize this type of switch sticking once you've seen the same plays a couple times. Once you see formations and the certain strength of passing formations that they have, you just got to realize what you're giving up on the field. You just got to realize where the weakness in your own coverage is and try to switch stick to cover that up. Now, here's another example of a great place to switch stick. Let's say we're in a cover 3 with hard flats like this again. And they're running a play really over the middle of the field with a crosser coming over the top. Now, this can save you, or you can know what's coming and be baiting your opponent. Maybe you're lurking low with your user toward the line of scrimmage and you're not able to get back to this crosser in time. So here's another thing you can do. So now let's snap. We're lurking low, and we get onto our deep third and we go and cover that quickly. Now, those are the type of things that you can do with switch stick. Now, you're going to have to realize too that switch sticking to outsmart your opponent or to cause a turnover might result in giving something else up or risking giving up a bigger play. But the reality is most people aren't good enough to pass around switch stick and really punish switch stick consistently over the course of a game. The reality is you're going to get them more likely than they get you. Tip number 9 is zone stemming. Zone stemming is another new feature that they added in College Football 26, and it can be really effective if done correctly. The way to zone stem is very easy. You just press Y to access the secondary coverage adjustments, press Y to quick adjust, select the secondary player that you want to adjust. So we're going to adjust B, the right corner, and then you hold LB to custom stem his zone up and down. As you can see, we're moving the cloud flat up and down. You can't move it left and right, but you can adjust the depth. Now you might be thinking this is really cool and all, but how is this really applicable? Well, let's run through 2 examples where I can show you where this actually can be really impactful. So for our first example, we're just going to start right here. Let's just say we're in a Tampa 2. We got hard flats on the field, and we're coming up against a bunch formation that is like this. Now, we know when you come up against bunch formations, you're more likely than not going to be encountering some type of passing attack where they try to flood either the sideline or the middle of the field. We'll actually show both of these to give them an example right here. But for this one, we're going to be flooding the outside of the field. Now, let's just say maybe it's close to halftime and you don't necessarily want to give up a giant chunk play so that way they score before half. So you realize you come out in these hard flats, you're like, oh crap, I really don't want to leave the sideline, the deep sideline open. But you also necessarily don't want to do it to the single receiver side, like the left side. You really want to focus on the right side because you think they're close to the edge. You know, you're using all sorts of game sense things to make this type of decision. They're closer to the sideline on the right. This would be a faster play. Imagine it is coming down to halftime. They don't want to use all that clock. So they're trying to get to the sideline. You don't want to give up a chunk play. So what we would do is simply quick adjust this right side corner into a little bit deeper one quickly. It literally takes 2 seconds. It takes less than 2 seconds if you practice it. And you want to put them right here to kind of protect the deeper flat area, kind of the corner route, deep out route area. So maybe you decide to use this guy to make sure you take away the flat since you stemmed that flat, since you stemmed the corner flat zone up. All of a sudden you snap the ball and it's like you've got this play completely bagged. So now let's give a second example. Let's imagine that you've been getting hit multiple times by this solo wide receiver side post route right off the cut early. Now, as you can tell from the play art, the middle of the field, when it gets to here, it's our responsibility. But sometimes this hook zone might not get back in time enough to play a post route off its cut like that. So what you can do is actually stem that linebacker as well to get back there in time. Right on the D-pad a second time. select that linebacker, then hold LB to move his hook zone up and down. Move it back a notch. All of a sudden, he's getting back there in time for that post route, and you don't have to worry about it early on the break. He's literally on it, and then the rest of it's our responsibility, right? I'll give a third example. So let's imagine we're in the exact same defense. The offense is in the same formation, but you've been getting hit by another route, this wheel route, early up in the break. They've been completing this pass repeatedly on you for cheap and easy yards, and you're about sick of it because it's just way too easy for the offense to gain yards out of that. Halfback wheel routes can be really tough to deal with, but there is something you can do. In order to cut off that really quick dump off to the halfback wheel route, we can actually stem zone that same linebacker that we did a minute ago. Stem him down so that way he's playing a little closer to the line of scrimmage where that running back comes up, and he will play that quick dump off so that way they don't have that just super easy quick read anymore. Now, we have it stemmed down, so we're going to see how this is going to completely take away that halfback wheel route, at least early on, but it's going to be open later. So just keep in mind, when you stem zone certain spots, of course it's going to leave something else open. But look here, it is adequately going to take away that first dump off right off the cut of this wheel route to the halfback. And maybe once he gets past that guy, he's going to get open. Maybe you switch stick back to the safety to cover it here. Obviously, when you stem zones, it's going to leave something else open, but you've got to be prepared to work around that. If you want to take away certain things away from the offense, you're going to have to take chances, and it might open other things up. You got to play defense around that as well. The last tip I have for you guys is goal line defense. This is one of those things where playing inside the 5-yard line is actually difficult for both sides of the ball. From an offensive perspective, it feels like there are so many defenders close to the line of scrimmage that it feels hard to get a run through. But at the same time, the field is so condensed that it is difficult to complete passes with no great spacing. But from the defensive perspective, it's also difficult. The offense is so close to the end zone, it feels like any possible short yardage play will actually just get in for 6. So there's a few different ways that you can defend around the goal line, and we're going to run through them real quick. Now, the goal and mindset of defense inside the 5-yard line is to take away what is easiest for the offense to do. So first is taking away the run. So if you think your opponent is running, maybe they come out in goal line or I form. I like to get, since we're so close, like we said, they're so close to the end zone, I like to come out in something that's a little heavier set, like 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, like something like a 4-3. And then I like to choose something that has a lot of short zones on the field, so that way it takes away any easy passes in case of an RPO or something like that. You want to take away the easy stuff, take away the run, take away the RPO. So I'm going to go ahead and click Tampa 2. Now, the adjustments I would make to something like this so close to the end zone is I would pinch the defensive line and spread the linebackers. That way we have good run support in the middle, but we also have good outside lanes in case they run to the outside for the linebackers. Snap the ball. Does a pretty great job of stuffing the run right there. And really, again, the mantra here is to take away what is obviously easiest for the offense to do, and we think that they're going to do, which is go into goal line and run the ball. Now, maybe your opponent has proven that he's a known passer, and even inside the 5-yard line, he wants to come out in passing sets and try to dot up. What you want to make sure, if you're expecting the pass in these situations, is make sure from your coaching adjustments that you don't have any zone drop set, because the last thing you want is a 20-yard curl flat whenever they only have 5 yards to go. That's not going to do you a lot of good. So make sure those are on balance, or if you want to put flats, you can put it on like 5 or 0. As far as play call, in these situations, I love going cover 2 here, the Tampa 2 set, only because they have so many zones close to the line of scrimmage. So many zones that are right here. The most popular routes that you will see ran in these situations from passers is going to be zigs, drags, things of that nature. They want these easy short yardage completions, and these type of zones will dissuade them from being able to throw the ball there. The most difficult ball to throw inside the 5-yard line like this is the medium throws. It's the back of the end zone throws. It's near the user throws. So protecting the back of the end zone honestly is our last priority, only because it's the most difficult thing to do in this situation. Take away the easiest thing that the offense wants to do. By having all these zones really close to the line of scrimmage, there's not a lot that's going to be able to get open, and anything that can get open late, they're either going to not execute on that skill level to be able to complete a ball like that, or they're going to get sacked in the process waiting for it to open up. Oh, an additional thing that I just thought of just now, make sure you're a quarterback containing versus mobile quarterbacks. This is a prime spot. People love to scramble around with their quarterbacks. It's kind of a way to get open on like a semi-run play, but it's just a scramble. Easy way to get in the end zone. Take away the easy stuff. Take away the easy stuff. That's the mantra. And really the goal of this Tampa 2 stuff is to take away these easy flat passes like they have in here and force them to throw at us in the middle. that would be really, really good. Test our user, and we might just be able to get a pick and get off the field. Now, I'm going to use this last example. This one's quite a bit more risky, and it might take a little bit more user skill to execute something like this. But if your opponent is a known passer and you know he wants to pass in these situations, but you also want to apply pressure to him, come out in like a super heavy man blitz. So I really like double mug. I know many of you are acquainted with this play. I would press the defense, so that way they're at the line of scrimmage, pinch the line, because that's the best way to set up this blitz, and I would user the guy that's on the running back. Now, a lot of people, when they see double mug, they will immediately block their running back. So let's assume they do that here. The running back's going to be blocked. But here's the best way to run this is you want to shade your coverage outside. Notice how all the cornerbacks just moved to the outside. So that way any outbreaking routes that are going away from your user are going to be bagged. But any routes that are coming to you, you can help user. So snap, we're able to kind of help this drag it across the field. And by the time anything else has anything to open up, all the outside breaking routes were completely bagged, and we were able to help user that drag across the field. And there was no time to scramble, so he ended up on the floor. That's the benefit of a heavy blitz. If they don't make the read immediately, or if they don't have a route open immediately, they're probably on the ground. And the last thing I want to show you guys about goal line defense is how to stop the QB sneak. It's a good idea to always have some QB sneak defense in your bag, so that way you can stop them in those scary like 4th and inches plays or right on the goal line like this. This is always good to have. Now, I haven't found something that works 100% of the time so far, but what has worked at a pretty great rate is this goal line 5-3 middle linebacker gap A. And what I like to do here is, remember, you're always going to be taking a chance in some form. You are guessing that they are going to QB sneak here. What I like to do is pinch the defensive line, slant them inside, and then still walk up here with my linebacker and just put so many bodies in the way of the quarterback, so that way he can't just fall forward into the end zone. Boom, that was able to effectively stop it super, super well. Like I said, it doesn't work every single time. I've had some reps where he just falls through the line, and it almost like his tackle animation takes him forward. But for the most part, this has been the best part so far. And even right then, he didn't even get in. But this has been the best success I've had for the QB sneak defense so far. All right, that'll wrap it up for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe. That means a ton to me. And let me know down in the comments what you think the best tip in this list is. God bless. Blitz out.